Hi, Joel. So, what brings you to Milwaukee?
I'm part of the Breitbart news team covering the Republican National Convention, and I'll be in Chicago next month to cover the Democratic National Convention, the two major party conventions in a presidential election year. This one, of course, is very special because of the circumstances coming just days, hours really, after President Donald Trump was nearly assassinated in Pennsylvania. So the mood here is quite urgent and emotional and excited because Trump had a good chance of winning coming into this convention, and now people feel like the country is rallying around him. So it does feel like this campaign is picking up a lot of momentum as it goes further on. So this convention is unlike any I've ever been to, really, in the expectation of success, which is new. 6 or 7 weeks ago, it didn't seem likely. President Trump had just been convicted in Manhattan of a bogus crime, but he was due to be sentenced last week, and the judge postponed the sentencing hearing until September, but he could still go to prison before the campaign is over. Who knows? But the mood here is very upbeat, so that's why I'm here. I'm here to cover the campaign, to tell the stories of the people who've come here, to interview policymakers and newsmakers, and to enjoy Milwaukee, which is a fantastic town.
What are your thoughts on President Trump's VP announcement yesterday?
J.D. Vance is a solid candidate. He resonates with the America First movement, with the MAGA movement. He comes from an interesting pedigree. He grew up in rural Appalachia, Ohio, and went to Ohio State University, then to Yale Law School, which is, if you know American law schools, the top law school in the country. And I say that having gone to a slightly lesser law school, Harvard, but Yale is very selective, and it's the top law school in the country. He then wrote a memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, which became a Hollywood movie. So he has experience in just about every leading field in the United States, from law to entertainment, and now in politics. And he was against Donald Trump actually in 2016, but revised his view after he saw Trump's performance in office. So he is a candidate very close to the grassroots, very close to Trump supporters, and it's an interesting pick. In 2016, Trump chose Mike Pence, who was an establishment figure who provided some stability to the ticket, who convinced Republicans that this was a man who could manage the government if, God forbid, something happened to Donald Trump. This time around, the message is different. The message is that the MAGA movement will continue beyond Donald Trump. That's the signal that selecting J.D. Vance sends, that the priorities that Donald Trump holds foremost are also going to be the priorities of the people who succeed him. So I think it's a historically significant pick in that sense. It suggests that policy-wise, at least, the Trump moment is going to live on beyond Trump's political career.
And what are your thoughts about Joe Biden? I know you're not a fan of him, but do you think he's still fit to lead? Should he resign? Should he be running? What are your thoughts there?
I think Joe Biden should never have run for office in the first place. His supposed reason for running was the Charlottesville riot in August 2017. From the very moment that Joe Biden announced his candidacy, he has lied about what Donald Trump said about that riot. I actually confronted Joe Biden directly. I had the opportunity to interview him face-to-face, the way you're interviewing me now, after a press gaggle at the Iowa State Fair in August 2019. And I said to him directly, "You're misquoting Donald Trump. Are you aware that you're doing that?" And he flatly denied it. Trump condemned the neo-Nazis totally at that event. Biden still this week is talking about Charlottesville as the reason he ran and lying about what Trump said. That hoax, we call it the very fine people hoax, has divided America. It's convinced many people who might otherwise be inclined to listen to Trump, give him a chance, that he's a danger to the country. That's a climate of hate that allows something like the assassination attempt in Pennsylvania to occur. So I think he should have stayed out of the race. The Democratic Party, if I say this just as a citizen, not as a conservative Republican, the Democratic Party needs young, fresh leadership. He can't provide that, and he's not providing any particular policy direction for the party. Joe Biden's entire political career, going back 50 years, is basically holding a finger to the wind and figuring out where the center of the Democratic Party is. It's not a center based on the center of American politics, but the center within the Democratic coalition. So when the party moves left, so does he. That's why he's leading what I predicted would be the most left-wing administration in American history, and thus it is, because His administration is filled with Bernie Sanders people, with quote-unquote progressive community organizers, Barack Obama alumni, and they're driving America off a cliff. So I don't think he should be running. I don't think he should have run in the first place. And he still has a chance to win. Democrats essentially control the apparatus of voting. Vote by mail is their preferred system because it matches the way they organize and register voters and turn out their voters. And it has given Democrats a decided advantage in every state where it was adopted prior to COVID. Now, of course, it's almost universal since COVID. So it's still not a done deal for Donald Trump, but certainly he has a lot of momentum. And I think Joe Biden, if he wants to give the Democrats a better chance to win, will resign after he formally accepts the nomination. Legally, he can't transfer the $100 million in campaign funds that he has to another candidate until he's the official nominee, which would happen sometime in early August before the Democratic convention. If he quits now, he can't control exactly where that money goes. So I think the Democrats' best strategy right now is to pretend Biden's going to be the nominee, nominate him, and then have him bow out gracefully and hand over to another candidate. But he has a lot of people around him who are trying desperately to hold on to power, hold on to their positions, and so they're going to try to run him as long as they can to the finish line, really, and probably to defeat.
Let's pivot a bit. We were in Israel together for the Rebel trip in September of 2023. That was before October 7, obviously. You've been there back numerous times. I wouldn't even be able to count how many times. Has Israel come up a lot in this convention? How was the policies of, I guess, both parties regarding Israel, since you covered that a lot?
Israel came up in the first night of the convention when the delegates prayed for the welfare of the Israeli hostages in Gaza. That was a very moving moment. And it's going to feature tonight, as I speak to you now. We're a couple hours away from the start of the official session on the second day of the convention, but it is going to feature Matt Brooks, who is the president of the Republican Jewish Coalition, a very important pro-Israel group, is going to be speaking from the main stage, and he's going to talk about how Joe Biden has betrayed Israel and how Donald Trump has been the best president that Israel has ever had for U.S.-Israel relations. I mean, he's been the best friend to Israel, and those benefits of that relationship haven't just helped Israel, they've helped the United States as well. So you're going to see it come up a lot tonight on stage. It's not the number one issue for Republican voters, but it is an important issue, and it's one people often point to because of its symbolic significance. It's so easy to draw the distinction between the success of the Trump foreign policy versus the failure of the Biden foreign policy, and that's why Israel is important.
And just give us a quick rundown on, you've been to Israel, you're going back soon again. How does it look like over there, the war and all?
Israel is a very resilient and cohesive society, so if Hamas thought they were going to destroy Israel, and certainly the pro-Palestinian activists around the world, in Canada, the United States, they were very excited by October 7th because they thought it was the beginning of the destruction of Israel. If you go to Israel and you tour Israel, you see that that's impossible. Israeli society cannot be broken. The Jewish people have a deep attachment to Israel that will never be shattered, and Israel cannot be destroyed. It can, however, be abandoned. It can be endangered, and Iran certainly could continue to inflict damage through its terrorist proxies. So there's a sense of nervousness around the country. The reserves are still mobilized, many of them. There's a lot of tension on the northern border, rockets being fired daily. There could be a war with Hezbollah. None of this was happening when Donald Trump was president. When Donald Trump stood behind Israel and made it clear he was going to support Israel, whatever Israel needed to do to protect itself, nobody messed with Israel. There weren't Hamas rocket attacks. There weren't wars. Hezbollah wasn't attacking. Iran wasn't attacking. The Houthis were being held in check. Biden comes in, changes all the policies, almost all the policies. He kept the embassy in Jerusalem because as much as he would have liked to have done away with it or supplemented with a Palestinian embassy, he couldn't do that. And he didn't do it. But Biden's other changes have been a disaster. And I'll actually be speaking about some of Trump's forthcoming policies in the second administration. On Thursday, I have a new book coming out next month called The Agenda, What Trump Should Do in His First 100 Days in Office. You can get it on Amazon, The Agenda. And the foreword is by my old boss, Steve Bannon, who is a political prisoner right now, in fact, having been convicted of contempt for the contemptible January 6th committee, which was a show trial unbecoming of the world's greatest democracy. So I think Trump has a number of things he can do when he comes back into office to restore the U.S.-Israel relationship to its proper place, to restore American security, and to restore Israeli security.
If you like what you're seeing, you want to see more from the RNC convention here in Milwaukee, go to rebelnewsusa.com for the whole story.